Welcome to the show where we explore the who, what, where, how, and why of the extraordinary people who define our north of normal metro. I'm Conrad Fargo, and this is the Fargo Five. Today we have William Zottnick.
Good morning.
Did I say that right?
Yes.
You are a financial professional with Bankers Life. And I know you from our mutual friend Lucinda, who's over at the FM title company. What does she do over there?
So she's, from what she kind of told me, she's in charge of a lot of the social networking.
Yeah.
Right? I kind of met her through Business After Hours.
Yeah.
It was kind of my first foray into the Chamber of Commerce.
Well, and she networks like crazy. She is constantly connecting me with people. She is a heck of a go-getter.
Yes.
I try to network as hard as I can. This show is a thinly veiled networking attempt. But she's an animal. She's out there bringing people together. So shout out to Lucinda. But she said I should have you on the show, and that's about all I know. This is my first time meeting you today.
Yeah.
So why don't you go ahead, jump us into it. Tell us who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so like you said, my name is William, right? Financial professional with Bankers Life, and ultimately, what we do is we just kind of help folks through retirement, right? So there's a lot of aspects to it that people aren't necessarily thinking about in their 30s and 40s, and even sometimes into their 50s. People feel like the world is on their shoulders, right? They've got everything in front of them, but no one really stops to think about that second half of their life, right? Everybody's got about the same plans, right? They want to stop working, they want to travel, they want to be in good health, and they want to stay out of nursing homes, right? But no one really stops to think, how am I going to get there, right? And by the time you get to that age, if you haven't come up with a plan, it might be too late, right? So what we do is we go out into the community. We're pretty old-fashioned, been around since 1879, about 150 years. And our goal is just to sit down with folks at the kitchen table, right? We're not trying to do this over the phone. We're not trying to be some of these AI companies that just sell stuff over the phone. Our goal is to sit with people and just explain what the plan could look like, right?
Do you always wear a tie and suspenders?
Depends on the clients.
Yeah.
Right. Some folks like it, some don't.
They are.
Yes.
Financial planning. For my sins, we were talking a little bit. I do. I'm a realtor at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Premier Properties. I got to say the whole thing every time I say. So I do a lot of networking, and I always joke that, you get a realtor, a mortgage guy, an insurance guy, a financial planner, and a chiropractor.
Yes.
You get the five of them in a room, and you got a networking group right
Yes.
there, right? So I've met a handful of financial planners. It seems to me that there is it all the same job? I mean, so Bankers Life, I've got a good friend over at Thrivent.
Sure.
Are you guys doing similar work, the same work? What kind of variations? Because you said you're focusing on I guess everybody's focused on long term with financial instruments, but tell me, is there a difference or is it the same?
So very familiar with Thrivent, right?
Yeah.
We work with folks who've got all sorts of different policies and plans, and they've got a guy, right? They've got a guy for all these different things, right? Like you just said, right? But our goal is to kind of cut out some of those extra guys and be more of a one-stop shop, right? Very holistic, right? Okay. So ultimately, the four areas we work in, right, kind of the pitch here, right, is we help folks with Medicare and health insurance. We help folks with long-term care. That's probably the biggest one that we do, because there's only about 7 companies left in the country that actually offer that. And then we help folks with life insurance, the basics, and then retirement income and money, right? And the reason we do that is because you could have a guy for life insurance. You could have a guy that helps with your Medicare who also kind of moonlights in home and auto, right? You could have a guy that helps with your money, but we're kind of a one-stop shop and we can do all of it, right?
Yeah, so Medicare, that's different from Medicaid, different from healthcare, different, or what? I think people hear a lot of words and terminologies. I don't know that we know exactly what they mean or how they're
no. So that's fair, right? So Medicare, right, is going to be for a couple different groups, right? It's going to be for your folks who are approaching retirement age of 65, right, who are going to be going on to Medicare soon. Even if you plan on working after, you will probably enroll in Part A and maybe Part B.
So Medicare is a government program?
Yep, government mandated health insurance.
How is that different from Medicaid?
So Medicaid is a little bit different. That is also a government program, but that is for folks who didn't have a plan, right? They didn't earn enough money in their life. They don't have a way to pay the bills, whether it's for nursing home or prescription drugs, right? And so they will make you spend down to your last $3,000 in assets. You'll be left with about $98 per month of your Social Security check, and that's what you get to live off of.
And how is that different from Medicare?
Honestly, Medica is like a separate company that helps with some of this. So that's a little bit different.
Okay.
So you can be on both, right? You can be on Medicare and Medicaid.
This is all under your wheelhouse, right?
Yes.
I'm not okay.
Yes.
And is this different from what people do at Thrivent? I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is I hear the term financial planner a lot, and it seems broad.
Yes.
Are all of you quite broad? Like you've got such a broad palette of things to choose from?
So kind of the big thing, right, is I haven't gotten my Series 6 or 7 license yet, right?
Yeah,
and
so there's licensing, yeah.
Yes, there is, right? So right now what I'm able to help with is I can help move money, right, that is cash, right? So nothing that is variable, right, in the stock market or things that could go up or down in value, right? If you are looking to do something with your money and it's in a fixed account, I can help with that. I'm working right now to start studying for my Series 6 and 7 licenses, so that way I can help people with some of those more volatile accounts. But ultimately, we still have people in our branch that do have those licenses, right? Again, one-stop shop. The goal is to have someone local, in person, that you can talk to. Because I tell you what, probably the biggest hurdle that we've faced since I joined is people don't answer the phones anymore. Right? And I totally get it, right? Yeah. There's a lot of robo-callers, there's scammers, right? There's people trying to sell you, hurricane insurance in North Dakota, right? Sure. And people just don't have time for it a lot of times.
Well, and how I describe it is the attention economy is what I call it. Like there is on your phone, and I do this in a room of people, I say, pick up your phone right now and pull it down. How many things are, and I'll literally read, like my Blink is yelling at me, my Pro Care, my children have something going on at the daycare, I've got emails, I've got texts. All these things want your attention. And then in addition to that, we're going to try to use Facebook ads, and we're going to try to robocall, and we're going to do this and that. Like, we are just drowning in it. And so, like, how do you cut through that?
Right.
I think that's the question for the modern age. And you say you cut through that. You're not an AI robocaller.
Right.
You cut through that. So what is it that you're doing to cut through and get people's attention?
So ultimately, right, that's kind of the big goal, right? That's a $64 million question. How are you going to separate yourselves and get in front of people, right? That's actually how I met Lucinda, right? I took a shot. I went to the event, and she was nothing but awesome, right? Yeah. And she said I was one of 3 people, that night who actually approached her and, kind of had a conversation. That's why she was willing to have the follow-up with me and put me in contact with you and a handful of others.
It's amazing how few people are actual players.
Right.
Like that. And it's, and I wonder what it was like. So how old are you? You're about
28.
Oh my, you're just a puppy.
Yes, I am.
39 for the first time just this June. So I'm having my last birthday for a while. But I don't know what it was like 60 years ago.
Right.
And I don't. But people seem to be segregating, and there seems to be like an evolution. And it starts with the phones and the TikToks, and AI isn't going to make it you brought up AI. I mean, people are going to get giga-fried.
Yes.
They are just going to get destroyed by the slop if they don't have some kind of like internal sense of, I think the word floating around a lot is agency. Like that is the big separator.
I mean, we moved up to North Dakota in 2010. I'm originally from Denver, right? So not North Dakota native for my whole life, but for quite a while, and my parents' house, they've still got like a rotary phone landline, right? My grandparents owned it. I wasn't necessarily born during that time, but I've heard stories, people used to be excited to answer the phones. They'd run up and, in the middle of dinner, they'd see who was calling, right? Maybe they were going to get $1 million check, who knows? But now that it's in your pocket and you get calls, 12 times a day from numbers you don't know, at a time in our life where ADHD is on the rise, and there's, like you said, everything is vying for your attention.
Yeah.
And who are you going to give it to?
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem is the stuff that we deal with, where I work is very serious. It could really impact whether you have a great retirement or not.
Yeah.
But because I can't cut through some of these robo-callers and AI, some of those folks don't get help.
Well, I think it's having bad effects, but it's also having good. So people are being lost, but then other people are being elevated and breaking through the noise.
Yes.
I think what we've found, because gosh, again, we go back to 60 years ago. Look, I'm not trying to make a political statement or in any way or the other, but think about the way television and news media was and how siloed everybody was just on whatever the mainstream was is what you're fed and what you're putting out. Now, because there's so much of it, there's just this cacophony. And one thing that's definitely breaking through is genuine connection.
Yes.
Right? And so people who can be authentic, right? And that's, again, love them or hate them. I think that's why somebody like Joe Rogan, is a big podcaster.
Right.
Right? And it's because he's just saying, maybe his opinion is completely ignorant. Maybe not. I don't know. But he's just saying without measuring just whatever he thinks.
Yep.
And that is his authentic truth.
Right.
And people pushing those out there, that there's definitely some future for that for those who are going to have agency. I think those who aren't responsive to that or who can't get up and out of that are just going to get drowned in the slop.
Yep. And right now, the biggest issue is, we've got a generation of baby boomers right, coming up on this retirement age.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've heard, it's called the Great Wealth Transfer, right?
Okay.
There's about $80 trillion, I think was the number, that's going to be passed down, in the next coming years. Just because all these folks are going to be going into retirement, they're going to be passing away, right? That money's going to be going to their kids and grandkids, right? But again, the big problem is no one wants to talk about some of this, right? It's super important to just have a plan and understand what's in front of you. And I can't stress that enough. That's why, genuine connection. You got to know who you're talking with.
Well, unfortunately, I think much of the boomer mentality is you can't take it with you. And so they don't even have a plan of leaving it behind. They want to spend every penny that they have because I can't take it with me. So I'm going to spend it up and I'm going to live it up while I'm here.
We have genuinely had some folks say that they would, rather than leaving it to their children, they'd rather put it in a barrel and burn it. Yep.
I don't know where that mentality comes from. But the other issue at hand here is that we now exist with technology. Again, I think this all ties directly into technology and the way it's changing everything.
Yeah.
Is that we live in a global, for better or for worse. Again, this isn't a value judgment at all. We live in a global economy.
Yep.
People are connected. You can try to put up barriers via tariffs or regulations, but like the old Jurassic Park, life finds a way, right? Capital finds a way, right?
Yes.
The technology's there. You're not going to get on. And what's happening is in the expenditure, because expenditure is a wealth transfer too, right? When you buy a yacht, all the people who built that yacht now have your money, and all you have is a yacht. You don't have the money anymore, right? And so, but all the yacht builders exist so what's happened? So this great wealth transfer is not happening intranationally; it's happening internationally. Right? Is at least what I'm seeing. Yep. I don't know what to do. Yeah, and we've kind of got a far field, but this is the topic I love. So.
It's super, super tough. I kind of mentioned long-term care, right, as one of the areas we help folks with. The reason that that's so important and why I said 7 companies really truly have plans, that they offer towards that is because back in 2015, over 100 companies, they stopped offering it. And it's not because it's not important, but it's because they weren't forward thinking enough, right? So they were offering plans to this baby boomer generation that were unlimited benefit pools, right? And I I should back up. The way that it works, right, with a long-term care policy is you pay so much money in a premium, right, just like with any insurance, right? But ultimately, you're paying for a benefit pool. So you're saying, I want $150 per day, right? And that equates to $4,500 a month that you get in just income to pay for your care.
Is this an annuity? Is that
No, this is called long-term care, extended care.
How is this different from an annuity? Or
I'll get into that.
Are they similar?
No.
Do I know? So I have no idea anything about this.
Very different.
So it's all very complicated.
Yes.
Do you have a Series 5 license, or what's that? You say Series 6 and 7.
Yeah.
What licensing do you have?
So right now, like I say, I don't have any of the series licensing. I'm studying for it.
I see.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. You have some other licensing. How many different types of licenses are there in this financial planning?
I think right now I've got, 3. I've got home, life, and annuities.
Okay, and each of those are licensed.
Or excuse me, not home, health, life, and annuities. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Home licensing, that would be me.
Right.
I'm a realtor,
Yes,
licensed realtor.
exactly.
Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Premier Properties. I have, I'm legally bound to say it.
Right.
The full, anyway, that's complicated and a whole other thing.
Yep.
But real estate is fairly straightforward. I get
Right.
a license. I get to be the middleman between somebody buying a house and not, right?
Right.
Your stuff seems so much. I'm pretty good at boiling things down and making them stupid.
Yep.
Which I think is a sign of intelligence, being able to do that. But I'm really having a hard time wrapping my hands around what financial planning is. I mean, so you're selling life insurance. You're selling.
Yep. So
and you were talking. I interrupted you while you were talking about long-term care.
Yes. So I'll put the transparent disclosure here too for myself, right? I sell insurance, right? That's about half of what I do.
Okay.
All right. But I would almost argue in a lot of cases it's not the important half, right? Because the other half of what I do is what you just said. It's the explaining and the boiling it down and making sure people understand.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, here's the deal, Conrad. If I could walk into a house and I could talk to every single person and they tell me after 30 minutes to an hour that the information I provided was worthless, they didn't find any value, awesome. Because at least now I know that person has taken the time to think about it, even if for just that 1 hour, right? But a lot of folks around here haven't put a single minute's worth of thought into it, and then they get to this point and they're up the creek without a paddle, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So the long-term care, right, to kind of surmise that, right? Back in 2015, all these companies stopped selling it because this pool of money that you were paying for, right, for our plans that we offer, there is a cutoff. And it's because about 72% of folks past the age of 65 will need somewhere between 1 to 2 years of care in a nursing home or some kind of extended care before they pass away.
Yeah.
Right? So the difference back in 2015, the plans they offered had unlimited benefit pools, right? So it didn't run out, right? And these companies, they realized once the baby boomers started hitting, they're like, we're going to go bankrupt,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so we tweaked things, right? And that's why we're proud to say we're one of the only companies left in the country that actually addresses this problem. But again, none of it matters if people don't sit down and talk about it and actually think about this. Because, again, it's insurance. It's a premium. It's not going to work for everyone, but there are people it will work for, and it will make financial sense to, right? And you kind of talked about the annuities, right? The annuities is more of the money side, right? And there's kind of a bad rap with them. I've learned a lot, since I started here. Annuities are not scary. I will say that.
I don't know what they are. So.
A lot of folks, they've heard bad things. There are bad annuities out there.
Okay.
Just like with life insurance, right? There's good life insurance and there's some not so good life insurance, right? That's just how it is. Annuities, the basic concept I can give you, right, is the stock market, right? There's 3 things that the stock market's going to do, Conrad. What are those 3 things?
Go up.
Yep, go up.
Number go up. I mean,
number go up.
That's
Yep.
What else is
what are the other 2 things it could do?
It could go down.
Yep, number go up, number go down.
Not in a sustained way.
Right. Or third one is number stay same.
Okay. Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Those are
Okay.
the 3
I see.
options.
Up or down. Okay,
Yeah. So the concept is, right, let's say you put $100,000 into the stock market, right? Stock market goes up 20%. Awesome. You just made $20,000. Mm-hmm. Let's say you put that $100,000 in and it goes down 20%, right? So now you're at $80,000. What percentage does the stock market need to go up before you're back to level?
Yeah, I don't. I you can't get me to do math on the top of my head.
Some
on
people,
live.
some people think it's 20, right?
It's not 20. It's
25.
It's okay.
Right, 25% of 80,000,
Yeah,
20,000.
okay. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
you're back to 100.
Yeah.
But now you've lost that time that you could have been earning interest.
Yeah.
Right. So the difference with an annuity, and again, like way too in depth for me to like surmise easily, but basically, you put your money in, and the insurance company, they purchase investment like long-term bonds, right? And from the interest they earn on those bonds, they purchase options. So now basically what happens is you put in that $100,000, you get what's called a participation rate. We'll keep the math easy. We'll say 50%. All right. So if the stock market goes up 20% and you have a participation rate of 50%, you will get half of that. So your money will go up 10%, right? Half of 20%. So you've now made $10,000. But the difference is that if the stock market goes down, right, you don't lose anything, because what the insurance company does is they sell those options to basically pay back the difference on what they lost. So there's no risk, right? It's kind of in the middle, because on the left, you've got your money in the bank, right? CDs, right? Things that are very safe but don't earn a lot of interest. Mm-hmm. On the right, you've got your very volatile, right? Your stock market, your precious metals, your variable annuities. Like, you've got different things, right?
Yep.
But in the middle is kind of where we specialize, and we help folks with, we call it safety with growth, right? So you can do some of these annuities, right? And just ensure that at least a portion of your money is never going to go down.
Yeah.
Right? It might stay flat, and you have to be comfortable with that. But the biggest thing is that we've noticed a trend of people are very cool with the idea that the stock market's going to go down, and it's just like been normalized.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not necessarily a good thing to normalize, because that doesn't always have to be the case. We've met with folks that are in their mid 70s who are like, "Oh yeah, it went down, but it'll come back," you know. That might be, but it might not be in your lifetime. Right? And at least a portion of that money you worked so hard for your whole life, right? You'd probably want to protect that, right?
So you're going to bring it out of me here today, because
Yeah.
I am, as I've said, a realtor at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Premier Properties. I'm not like other girls. I didn't get into real estate as a salesperson.
Sure.
I didn't start with furniture, move into cars, and now graduate into the big ticket item. I'm obsessed with monetary policy. Yeah. So I'm a fun guy to talk to on these things, because I'm coming at it with a background in economics and the ramifications of a fiat currency. I'm not like one of those gold bugs or anything, but I certainly understand a lot about how currency works and how number goes up.
Number go up.
Number go up, and number go up because printer goes burr.
Yes.
And I mean, that's and that's not a bug, that's a feature.
You're right.
We need to be able to increase the money supply in order to stay at parity of some kind with the increases in production. Otherwise, you would have a sustained deflation, and that would just be a headache.
Yep.
I understand that, yes, the number is going to go up. I understand. Would an annuity be considered a derivative, or?
It's kind of tough. Just
not sure the bounds of a derivative. But anyway, so how I explain appetite for risk, I talk about it a lot, and kind of the big epiphany that I had, and it's not surprising that financial planners do both insurance and stocks,
right?
Because they're actually kind of the same, or even a bond. A bond and insurance are almost like the same in that it's just mitigation of risk, right? Like you've got a certain likelihood of this, that, or the other is going to happen,
right?
And then you're going to just like chop up that likelihood. Like, so like think about it. If you had a button that this is the example I always use. If you have a button that 50% of the time will give you $1 million, how much is that button worth? Like on paper, how much is that button worth? 50% of the time the button gives you $1 million. How much is the button worth?
I'd say $500,000.
$500,000, right?
Yeah.
But if I say to you, hey, I'll just give you $100,000 and you let me press the button, would you take it? Probably.
That's tempting. Yeah.
I know I would. But what it boils down to is risk tolerance.
Right.
Right. Yes. And that's how I explain risk tolerance. Now, let's take it the other way. I have a button that half the time gives you $20.
Right.
Okay. And now I'm going to give you $1 in exchange to press that button. Are you going to take it?
No,
probably not, because $1 is not going to. $20 you don't care.
Right.
But the real value of that button is
$10.
$10, right?
Yes.
And so that's what stocks and bonds, as well as insurance, does.
Right.
Is package all these things, chop them all up, and then sell them so that the billionaire can come by and buy your right to press the button and get, at $500,000.
Right.
And then he pays you $100,000, pockets the $400,000 because he presses it 1,000 times. Right?
Yes.
Like, I get that. And so you're just like what you do. And so you guys are all the same thing. It's not so specialized. I mean, because it seems like you would want to be involved in as many transactions as possible, right?
Yes.
Like
the biggest thing is like to kind of give you a different idea, right? Medicare.
Yeah.
Right. This one might make it a little bit more understanding. There's a lot of companies that are involved with Medicare, right?
Well, but it's not a financial instrument. So this is actually the one that I don't understand the most, because it's actually a service, right? Like the long-term care is also a service.
Health insurance, yes. Yeah. Yep. Federally mandated, right? Everyone has to go on this, right?
Okay.
The big thing is, there's a lot of companies, right? And so this kind of goes back to the whole licensing thing, right? Before I got into this, I was approached by a few independent brokers, right? So I'd be kind of doing my own thing, right? Home office, that kind of gig. But the problem is, you might get licensed with one or two companies, right? So let's just say just Blue Cross, right? And that's all I do. So I come over to Conrad's house, right? And you're getting ready to go on Medicare, right? Now I sit down and I show you a list of Blue Cross plans, that are through Medicare, and, we're going to pick you on, right? But the issue for me, at least, if you want to call it morally, right, is that I know there's other plans available through United Healthcare and Aetna and Humana, right, and all these other companies. So the problem is, the reason I didn't go that route is because I know that in some of those cases, what's happening is I'm going to pick the plan that's best for me and my commission, because those companies, they pay me, you don't pay me.
Yeah.
All right. So free service, like it's just educational, and it's something everyone has to do.
Yeah.
But with this company, because Bankers Life has been around so long, I have the luxury that I'm not beholden to anyone. I can just come in and I can show you all the plans that are available, because depending on which way you go, it is county specific, right? So you have to know what plans are available in that county. And we can help with that, right? I don't have to just show you what's best for me, because ultimately I want to show you what's best for you. Well, it's your health and your life and your money. And
so you brought it up.
Yep.
I mean, real estate, sometimes we're at cross, and I'd probably get, if any other realtor hears me say even this much, I'd probably get yelled at. But I don't know that our incentives always align with our clients, because we have to close to make it, because we get paid zilch.
Right.
Like, we only get paid when something closes.
Yes.
Which is infuriating. For, like, if I could get paid by the hour, brother, I would. I'd love it. But I'm interested. So I'm always interested to hear, other people, especially when it's those five. Yeah. The five that easily make a networking group, right? Because there's so many financial planners. I know you guys get paid residuals, right? Like, that's pretty great. You sign somebody up, and then with very minimal effort, you get paycheck for forever. Are you employed by anybody, and do you get payments up front? Like how is that structured, and are they all the same? Like, if you were to go work at Thrivent, would the pay structure be the same as working at Bankers Life? Or?
No.
Yeah.
All dependent on what company you're licensed with, right? So,
interesting.
So I'm licensed with Bankers Life.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, I mean, the commission and residuals we earn, is based on what Bankers Life has set in front of us.
Yeah.
100% commission based, just like you, right?
Okay.
Like, the folks we help is what puts food on the table for me and my wife, and hopefully the future kids.
Yeah.
Right. But ultimately, again, that's not my goal in any of this. I used to do sales around here. I used to be a store manager. I don't know if I want to say the name. There was some issues there, but just take my word. I was a store manager. I used to sell mattresses. Oh, right. And so
you're moving on up.
Yes.
Okay.
And so it's one of those things, right, that I'm very familiar with the world of, like, people come to me for thing.
Yeah.
Right. This is very different, right? I go to people for thing that they probably need.
Yeah.
Right. Or at least need info on.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
As a realtor, you probably have people coming to you typically, right? I'm sure there's some amount of prospecting.
Well, no. Well, so do you know how many homes are for sale in the metro right now?
I don't. I have no idea.
550-ish. Do you know how many realtors there are? There's 1,000 of us. There's 1,000. So everybody, their mother has a mother, brother, and best friend who's a realtor. So actually, I am out there just like begging people to let me do the work. So that it's a whole real estate is a whole other thing.
Sure.
And so tell me if you resonate with this. So I'm a very good realtor. I mean, because I understand, number one, I understand the market.
Sure.
I can do data analysis.
Yep.
Because I'm a sharp guy.
Yeah.
None of that gets me clients. Like literally none of it. Because we have this modern problem, I feel, where like people are unequipped to choose their expert.
Yes.
Right? Like, how do you know your doctor is a good doctor? You don't. You just kind of based on their bedside manner. I have terrible bedside manner, so I struggle. I struggle. My clients benefit from my extreme skills, but I and my family suffers from my lack of social skills. So yeah, I mean, you asked, but so you're in so we're both in a situation where we're trying to help people improve their lives.
Yes,
and unlike the mattress where you're just sitting there waiting for them to come in, and then they're coming in warm and you're closing them.
Right.
You, similar to me, you got to go reach out.
Yes.
And grab people. Get their attention.
Yes.
Was that on the air? We were talking about the attention economy, right?
Yep.
Like you got to go grab them. And so what are you doing? Like, what is your day-to-day looking like?
Honestly, it's tough. It's kind of up to the agents to a certain degree. Right. So we've obviously got leads. We've got information coming from the Medicare registry. Right. We've got folks who've reached out through ads and certain things. Right. And like that's fine and dandy. But, Fargo it's big, but it's not like a Minneapolis big. Right. And so like some of our agents, we're licensed in both North Dakota and Minnesota, at least for our branch. Right. There's branches in 49 of the 50 states minus Alaska. But sometimes we've got days where we're driving 3 or 4 hours away, just to sit down with some folks and then driving back, right? It gets to be a lot of road time.
All on spec.
Yes. Yep.
You don't collect that. So, like, if you were to go over, but other ones, like if you were to go over to Thrivent or whatever, I don't mean to keep plugging Thrivent.
No,
I'm sorry.
It's your comparison.
I've got a couple friends who are working over there. Are they collecting a salary? Because that's got to be tough. Working commission only.
It is. Yeah.
And how long have you been doing that now?
So we're going on about 3-4 months, something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fresh out the gate.
Yeah, pretty fresh. Yeah, I was in the military, and I was a manager with Amazon for about 3.5 years before this.
Okay. Yeah. So what is it? Okay. So it's the who, what, where, how, and why. Right?
Yep.
And you did a great job of kind of moving from the what to the where all on your own, because you didn't come from around. I think you said Denver. My brain doesn't store facts.
That's all right.
So that's cool, but then I kept sliding us back to the what, because I want to like nail down like your day-to-day with this is making appointments and then keeping those appointments. Yeah. So you and I probably have a similar day-to-day in that like all we do is just get coffee with people for a living.
Yeah.
Which that's a life of some kind.
Right.
It's working.
Yeah.
And so you're going down that road, and what is it you do to find people? They give you leads. Of course, you're always expanding your social circle. That's why you were at whatever where you met
Business
Lucinda.
After Hours.
Yeah,
yes.
And you're outgoing guy, so you're making this work.
Yeah.
So I think I get a picture of the what, and and you're selling them financial instruments, whether packaging the upside or the downside. It's financial instruments that you help be a part of a reseller. You're not beholden to any one carrier. You guys are a general carrier, so you've got multiple different, so you can, whatever your conscience tells you is the best.
Right.
You've only been doing this now 3 months. You sound like I would not have guessed 3. When you were saying 3 or 4, I was thinking 3 or 4 years.
Right.
And I always say this when people ask me, so I'll be like open house, which I hate open houses. Because people walk in and they're so just like, oh, you want to sell me something? And it's like, no, I just want to talk. Can we talk?
Right.
Can we? Yeah, but I'm not giving you my phone number. I didn't ask for it. You know, like, geez.
Yes.
So
I mean, some of the people I've knocked on their doors, you know, and you would think I kicked their dog, you know, with some of the answers. I get it, right? If I'm not your cup of tea and you're not interested. I'm not here to push anything, right? Like, I am genuinely the community because I see a problem coming up, right? The data and the math supports that, right? And it's just my job to get out in the community and help educate folks.
When when I got into real estate, I was super anti financial instruments. As I've gotten, I'm rounding year 8. I'm actually more on your side.
Sure.
I think you should probably get about $1 million in net worth with real estate. I get paid to believe that, though. So that's a different conversation for a different time. I've actually come around. I'm super into financial instruments because I had that epiphany about the bundling and all that. And if you've got cash, do not hold Federal Reserve notes, right? Like, so I'm in favor of that. But no, what I was saying about open houses is people ask, so how many years you've been doing this? And it's like, it doesn't matter. Why don't you ask me what I know, right? Like you're trying to interview me, and the interview is, what's your track record? And it's like, well, great. You know, experience might mean that I did business in the 80s, right, which was a different market and a different world. Now I have a huge long track record, 8 years, right? But I don't feel that I'm not a better realtor. I'm not better at the real estate job, right? In the last 8 years, I mean, I have gotten better, but not as much better as now I am just like handling people. Right. Like the thing that I've gotten better at is closing people, not doing the deals. I came into the industry really good at negotiation and understanding data analysis, and I've maintained that high level of skill. And it sounds like you're similar. Yeah. Like 3-4 months, maybe young, but you've got the natural.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, you know, we go through a lot of licensing and stuff to get into this industry, right? And I understand, right? I'm a little bit younger, you know, what could I possibly know about any of these topics, right? You know, I haven't been in the business for 11 years, but what I can tell you, what I can promise is that if I don't have an answer, I'm going to find you an answer, right? That's the customer service element of this, right? Is, again, all that we need and all that we're looking for is just to educate folks and start a dialogue. Because ultimately, one of two things is going to happen. Is we're going to get into a house and we're going to find that there's a genuine need, right? And we're going to help with that. Or we're going to walk away and that person's going to have everything taken care of. I will tell you, I have met 0 of those people in 3 to 4 months. But let's say they exist, right? They probably know people, right, that might have questions in some of these areas. Right. I think that's the difference, and that's what attracted me to this role originally, was because I see such a genuine need and a good from it. And yeah, there can be people out there that, you know, maybe, you know, I think some people would use the word sleazy, let's say, right? Smooth talking, right? But that's not my goal, right? My goal is I want to be in this industry for 20, 30, 40 years, right? And I just want to be the guy that people call when the metaphorical poop hits the fan, right? Like, because that's ultimately what's going to establish a career and actually help folks when they need it.
So I think we've done the who, what, and the where. Where'd you come from? Denver. When did you come up here?
2010.
2010. And what for? What drew you to Fargo?
So I'm going to take a shot here. Do you know where Edgeley is at?
No, I don't know where I am at right now, so that's okay.
I bet you know Jamestown.
Sure.
It's about 40 miles south of Jamestown. Little town, about 500 people. Very small.
In Colorado?
No, North Dakota. No, this is North Dakota. Okay. Grandparents, lived there, and Grandpa had a stroke, ultimately. So, it was kind of convenient timing. There was some stuff going on with my parents' work, and so we decided to move up.
And that was 15 years ago. You got sucked into North Dakota and never left.
Yeah, never left.
Why don't you leave?
Honestly,
get out of here.
No, like a lot of people don't believe me when I say this, but like living in Denver and then moving to a town of 500, it's so polar, right? But Fargo's like the coolest middle ground ever.
Yes.
Right? Because it's got a lot of amenities you'd find in a bigger town. It doesn't have the population or the traffic. Yes. Right? And with that, the crime, right? Like crime's pretty good comparatively. And really the only thing we got to worry about, aside from these tornadoes recently, that's been kind of wild. Right? But like otherwise, snow and cold. Right? You put on some more layers, right? Be prepared, have a plan for when you go outside. That's awesome.
I call it our immigration policy.
Yeah.
You must be this tough to live here.
Right.
And honestly, it's part of why our crime is so low. It's part of why the culture is the way it is. It's part of why we have a very low employment rate. We have a very low unemployment rate, but also a low employment rate because so many people are self-employed or contractors like yourself, like me.
Exactly.
Nobody's got a job in this room, right? And that's Fargo, baby. I love it, and it's. I often say, like, where are you going to go?
Right.
Because Denver or Minneapolis are your two choices.
Right. Yes.
If you're in the middle of nowhere, North Dakota, and you want to go to a big city, which sounds like exactly what your situation. So you moved for your grandfather, and then how long until you landed in Fargo proper?
2010 to 2015, so 5 years. I went to high school in Edgeley. I graduated. Did about a semester of college at NDSU. It was a terrible experience, not for education reasons, but for some other stuff. And so at that point, I just decided military. That was kind of the route I was going to go.
Yeah. Okay. And so military, and then how long are those contracts last for?
So I think the standard is a 6x2 or 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did.
So you just got out.
Yeah.
You just
2023.
You served your time.
Yep.
Now you're free.
Yep.
That's great. What branch of the military?
Army.
Okay. All right. And then you get out of that. And is that when you decided, or I guess so? We've done the who, what, where.
Yep.
Now for the most exciting part. But gosh, we've only got 10 minutes because we focus so much on that. What I think it's been a great show.
Yeah,
I love
awesome.
it. I'm enjoring myself. Hearing myself talk. I'm sorry to talk all over you.
I love it.
It's been really great. And you brought up a topic. Sometimes I black out and just like start. And if
it's clearly very near and dear to your heart.
If it's about money, like monetary policy is passionate to me. So we got like 10 minutes, but like I want to focus on the how. So what you are is a financial professional.
Yes.
How did you become that? When was the conception of that idea? Like, when was the first time somebody said to you or you thought of yourself, I'm going to become a financial professional? When did that start and how did that start?
So kind of two short parts to that answer. First part, I would say about 5 years ago. All right. I used to, for a while, be a blackjack dealer.
And this was while you were still in the military?
Yes. Okay. Yep. Kind of hand in hand. And one person, they kind of put it in front of me, and it's kind of stuck with me. They said that blackjack dealing is one of the most pure forms of sales. Right.
Okay.
And I really thought about that, right? Because you're not selling a product. You're not selling even really a service, right?
Yeah.
You're selling a good time.
Yeah.
Right. Because no matter what, those cards are going to come out of that shoe, however they're going to come out.
Yeah.
You're going to either make money or you're going to lose money. But, right, even if you lose money, you can still have a good time if you've got a good dealer.
That's true.
Right? Someone who's going to be engaging and joking, right? And I got a lot of compliments. I really enjoyed it, right?
Yeah.
I've always done public speaking stuff. We kind of talked about that before the show, but, talking with people has always been, kind of a strong suit of mine. And so fast forward, right? That's why I took a shot at, the mattress store because, again, sales, right?
This was after blackjack.
After blackjack,
Okay.
Did that for somewhere around 6 to 9 months.
And how did those two compare? I mean, blackjack's great because you get tips. I mean, tip jobs. To me, it's not even sales. It's just tip jobs are a whole other category. And I think people don't realize. Yeah. And they're great for scaling if you're going to start your own business because you can go from bum, 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 and you can just do it only 5 hours a week or whatever.
Right.
But you move to the mattress store, and that's like a full-time gig, though, I'm sure.
Yeah, full-time,
with
5
a little
or 6.
salary.
Yeah. Well, kind of. That one was also commission-based.
Yeah.
And I ended up being the manager of the store that was in Grand Forks. Not Grand Forks. I can't even
Some
think
town.
of it. It's in Minnesota.
Okay, some Minnesota.
Fergus Falls.
Fergus.
That's what it is.
Right.
Yes, Fergus Falls. But anyway, so after that, right, like it was cool. I was good at what I did. I helped folks, right? But I don't know, it still felt salesy, right? Like, and I never wanted to come across as someone who ultimately had an agenda, was trying to push something, right?
Yeah.
And ultimately, again, like I said, that word sleazy. It's always just been a nasty word for me. But then, so they kind of approached me with this while I was working at Amazon. So, like I said, 3.5 years of that. And, I kind of kicked around the idea for a little bit. And once they reached out to me, the military kind of took a toll on me, so the physical aspect of working at Amazon got to be a lot. And so I really sat down and I talked with my now wife. We just got married last year.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. And I kind of told her, I was like, I'm thinking about doing this, right? And just like going all in. And it's like, it's going to be a big risk because there's...
Where did you hear about it? When was I wanted like a cinematic
This was
story.
on LinkedIn.
on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Some recruiter
Yes.
reached out to you.
Yes. Yep. So
And they messaged you.
yes.
And they said, like,
Yep.
what was their pitch? Like, it worked, huh?
Yep. Basically, they said, based on your background, it looks like you've got, some of the skills that we would like
So
to
they got
see.
your attention.
Yes. Yep.
On LinkedIn.
Yep.
Because you were already looking for a job.
Kind of.
Okay.
Half in, half out,
Yeah,
right? Amazon was paying the bills. It was good, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
And so, I told her, I was like, I'm really thinking I want to do this, but there's a lot of risk, right? There's a chance that 100% commission, right? It could be tough. I might need to lean on you a little bit until I get this thing, off the ground.
And what's the wife do?
So she is a leasing agent with Campbell Properties.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we rent from them, so get a nice little rent credit. But
Yeah.
So if anyone's looking for apartments, I tell you what, my wife is phenomenal. She's gotten lots of good reviews for it.
Yeah.
But I ultimately told her, I was like, I'm going to do this. And so I got my licensing, something that takes some people 3, 6, 9, 12 months to go through. I got mine in 12 days.
Yeah.
I went through it.
Yeah.
I studied,
Yeah.
got through all the material, and I
Same.
started
Yeah.
very quickly. But
Same with the real estate license.
Yeah.
Like, it's the material.
it's dry.
Well, a lot of it feels like if you've been paying attention your adult life.
Right. Well, there's that too. Yes, 100%.
Right? Like, it's
Yep.
like, well, yeah, that's how a contract works.
Right.
Yep, that's how, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
yeah, I know. You know what I mean?
right.
I'm an adult human
Yeah,
male. I know these things.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of it was like that, or
Yeah.
or was it
Don't-
more just like cramming?
Don't do this bad thing, or the insurance commissioner is going to slap you on the wrist and say you owe money.
Yeah, don't commit
Okay.
fraud, right?
Right.
Like, is it
Whoa,
basically like,
crazy.
here's a kind of fraud you should not commit. Here's another
Right.
kind of fraud you should not
Yes.
commit. And it's like, I get it. Just don't commit, right?
Yeah, just be a good person.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
crazy,
yeah.
right? Be a
It's
decent,
amazing.
genuine person.
Amazing.
Yes. So that's it. That's my ultimate goal, right? Is like I want to cut through all of it. I want to talk to everybody, right? There's no house or apartment I couldn't go in and provide some value, right? Whether that value is for that family or for some family that family knows, like I know that fully, 100%. I believe that every single day that I wake up. It's just a matter of getting out to folks. And like you said, sometimes that can be tough.
Every realtor is a direct competitor. There's only so many homes to sell, right?
Yeah.
Like I wish there were fewer realtors.
Yeah, 2 realtors every house, you said.
Yeah, well, yeah. And sometimes I feel like Jerry Maguire, like less money, more,
Yep.
because like the long-term effect of that would be that we could spend time servicing our clients rather than chasing them.
Yep.
Are you kind of in the same boat where more financial planners, like each one is a headache for you, or are you? If somebody is hearing this and they're like, "Well, gosh, I would like to just talk to people and explain financial stuff to them,"
Right.
how would they go about starting that? Because I don't think we've covered. So we covered that. The recruiter at LinkedIn reached out to
Yep.
you and said, "Come do this job." And you said to your wife, "You're like, look, it's commission only. I might make $0.00 all year." Like,
Right.
oh boy.
Yep.
But I think I can do it. Like, if somebody else looks into it, thinks they can do it, and then you go. So the first thing you had to do is go get licensed. Did they
Yep.
sponsor you in that? Did Bankers Life, or you had to do everything on your own? Or?
So ultimately, the way that it works, and yeah, like you said, if anyone's interested, right, reach out to me through LinkedIn, Facebook. Just type in William Zottnick Bankers Life.
Yeah.
You will find my info.
Yeah.
But you'll do typically 2 or 3 interviews, and then at that point, once the company has decided that you seem like someone that would be a good fit, they will help you start to enroll in the licensing and start pushing you in that direction. And then at that point, the licensing's on you, right? If you get through it, awesome. There's some people who've made it through the interviews and then just didn't follow through on the licensing, and then it's a moot point. But ultimately, like I say, reach out, because I can certainly help. I've been there, I did it, right, and I know things that might have even been helpful for me to know 2, 3, 4 months ago.
So you went. So the licensing is broad. It's administered by the state.
Yes.
You go. You take your exam. You get the license.
Yep.
And then you go back to the brokerage. Like, what's the brokerage like? Like, it just a office in somewhere, like just some commercial office space.
So here in Fargo, right, we got West Acres, right? Just south is Granite City. We're right on the other side of the street from Granite City.
Okay.
We're in we call it the travel building because their sign's on the front.
Oh, yeah.
But we're
I know
right
exactly what you're talking about. On our way to the Schlossman YMCA. You a big YMCA guy?
I'm not, but I drive by it all the time.
Yeah, well, you will be a big one once you have those kids. 'Cause see, they got the drop-in.
Oh, okay.
And like that's literally the only way my wife and I get out of the house is if we go put all the we got 3 kids. We put them all in the YMCA drop-in, and then we can do a dance class or whatever. And otherwise, we can't leave the house after hours. But anyway, so I know where you're at. So you walk in there and they sit you down and they go, all right, forget everything you learned, and now it's time to know how to do this job. Like they filled you up with a bunch of training, and they said, now reach out to everybody you know, or they give you leads. How many leads? Like what's that like? Or
it's tough to put a number, right? Yeah. Every town, like I said, we're licensed all across North Dakota and Minnesota. It's kind of up to your tolerance, right? Yeah. Like I could drive out to Minot every day if I wanted to, but I also have to balance that with a realistic idea of that's a lot of drive time.
Because that's happening on speculation. I mean, that's rough.
Yes, and to drive all that way for an appointment that they end up porching you and not showing up, that's tough.
I've done a couple stuff out in Fergus where I ended up with bupkis after like 30 hours of working on it. And that hurt inside. It sounds like maybe you have to deal with that stuff more.
A little bit. Yeah. I just, at the end of the day, I don't take any of it personally. Yeah. Right? Because I know, again, deep down, like it'd be one thing if I was just out, for the commission and I was just, everybody was a walking dollar sign to me. But like, I know what I do is good and valuable, and like most of the services I provide in educational sense are free, right? So like, again, no one's going to convince me that they don't have 30 minutes to sit with me, right? Yeah. That's one episode of television, and I know that most people around here binge Netflix or they binge Amazon Prime, right? You can't convince me you don't have time. You can convince me that you've got a lot of excuses as to why you're not ready to meet with me now. Right? But ultimately, again, this could be the most important 30 minutes to an hour of your life, right? Yeah. And it could set you up to have a really good retirement or a really not so great time in a nursing home. It's kind of up to you. Yeah. But I feel very passionate about what I do.
I can see that. Yeah. Well, it's a heck of a story, especially one that's only 3 months long. Yeah. I see bright things in your future. Anything else that you wanted to mention? Because we are just about at time here. So is there anything else?
That's wild. This really flew by.
It goes quick. You chose Carry On, Wayward Son by Kansas.
I did.
Tell me about that choice.
I've heard that song a long time growing up. Dad was always into kind of that genre of music, but TV show Supernatural. That was really big. 15 seasons of just awesomeness.
I've never seen that show. Means a lot to you.
The summary I could give you is they're very genuine when it comes to lore, right? Whether you're religious or not, and it's not just Christian based either. They bring in all the different types of lore, and they fight monsters and demons and demigods, and it's really cool. And the attention to detail is really what captured me, because they'll go in and they'll find some of the most obscure, chupacabras, right? Skinwalkers, right? They'll find ways that like the lore says you'd have to go about, to destroy them. And they incorporate that.
And this song is featured on that?
Yes, it is their theme song.
It's their theme song.
Yes.
Okay, I might have to. I mean, like I was telling you earlier, I'm a bit of a snob, so I'm not sure if it's up to my snuff, but we'll see. I'll definitely have to look into it.
Yes.
I might have something new to binge. Yeah. Which I've been looking for something, so that's great. All right, so we are going to listen to that before we get out of here, but why don't you one more time plug yourself?
Yeah, so like I said, William Zottnick, Banker's Life. You can find me everywhere. I've got Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I've got a Banker's Life webpage. Right, just type that into Google. You'll find me. I'm looking forward to anyone that wants to reach out and talk a little bit more. We'll get you in for some interviews and get some referrals out of it. I'll even split the referral bonus with you. So
awesome. And of course, I would say I can't do any of that because I can't give anybody a single dollar unless they're actually licensed. Oh, so sure. that's the whole other. It's a whole other thing. We'll talk later though. Yeah, I think you and I are going to be good friends.
Oh, I think so too.
Of course, I'm Conrad Fargo. You can find me anywhere. You can type in Conrad and Fargo. That's, you just those two words. You type them in. And have you ever heard? There is a it's kind of a startup. Maybe Amazon.com.
I've never heard of it. Not okay.
Well,
life.
if you ever end up there, I'm telling you, they're catching on. If you ever end up on Amazon.com, you just type in Conrad. You don't get anything. You type in Fargo, the TV show comes up. Okay, but if you type in Conrad and Fargo, do you know what happens? I'm right there.
Do you have stuff there?
It's me.
Oh,
You'll find the show. So you can find it. You can like, share, and subscribe.
Sure.
You know, if you have a old mechanical typewriter and you type in Conrad Fargo, do you know what happens?
You type Conrad Fargo.
I hear it. and I run across town, and I go, hey, I'm here. What did you want? So I'm also very easy to get a hold of. So Conrad, Fargo, William, thank you for coming.
No, thank you.
Awesome
this is
episode.
Awesome. Lucinda, if you see this, I appreciate the
I'm sending this
again.
to her. And thank you, Lucinda. Great job. Thank Lucinda. Thank William. Thank everybody for listening. And, of course, for liking, sharing, and subscribing. We're going to listen to some Kansas and see you all next week.